So I'm gonna get started with a video about parasocialism, about why it's worse for VTubers, and I'm willing to bet that it is. Like, that doesn't seem to me like it's a very big reach, because, like, I mean, parasocialism is prevalent in like all forms of media, but with VTubers specifically, we are using a stand-in for a camera, so rather than seeing like the actual person behind the avatar, they're just seeing the avatar. At least that's my uneducated thoughts on the topic. I need more weed in my system. So, we're going to get started with a video by Depressed Nousagi? Depressed Nousagi. I am sorry for butchering that. That was not intentional.
It's a one-sided relationship.
Damn it! I forgot to change my audio output. And I didn't even realize when those... Of course my Bluetooth headphones are not booping in. I did such a great setup right there. I only stumbled like a little bit. Okay, it's connecting now. Like, given that this situation is literally happening right now, it is hard for me to... Is the device off? Motherfucker. It is hard for me to really... What's the word? Coincide? I don't know. It's really hard to live with the idea, or, not live with. To really grasp the idea that there are literally people already with parasocial attachments to me at my small size, and there are definitely people bigger than me that obviously deal with a lot more. Like, I got this much scruff and people still simp, aside from my art.
Parasocialism. It's a one-sided relationship where a person knows so much about a particular content creator, influencer, fictional character, and in this case VTuber, and forms a certain kind of attachment towards them, while those figures knows nothing about that person. Those kinds of attachment depends on the viewer and content creator, be it familial, friendly, or romantic in nature. It is subtle, insidious, creeping up on people and developing without them not even knowing. One day they could enjoy a particular streamer, influencer, or VTuber, and the next they'll find their heart suddenly broken upon hearing those influencers might be in a relationship. While in most instances people just unsubscribe or unfollow, or even the usual petty whining in some random image board or Twitter thread, some instances can be so deranged and horrific, like committing suicide after their favorite characters die, or...
Really? Wow. Yeah, like I was... Oh, this is from Daily Mail? Wait, British tabloid... Oh, Daily Mail had originally reported on it, okay. But yeah, this actually reinforces what I was saying, that parasocialism is prevalent in all forms of media. This is literally a non-fiction or a literal fictional character that people were upset over. Which character was it? It's like I know a bunch of
or stalking, harassing, and
prevalent
scaring their
character.
favorite
A bunch of them
content
died.
creators their entire life. In recent years, parasocialism has been vilified by literally everyone. Some critiques and problems exaggerated, but often they parrot the same opinion.
Yeah, I'm gonna bet that it's just like parasocialism is bad because it's objectifying the person itself. Like, I'm guessing that's the direction they're going with the discourse, but like, parasocialism is a good thing. It does help develop that attachment between the creator and the viewer, and that keeps the viewer coming back, so it's just something that needs to be tempered.
Parasocialism, bad. And in one way, I agree. The deepest ends of parasocialism are cause for one of the internet's most fucked up stories. But I don't think
True.
parasocialism is necessarily bad. See, parasocialism is more nuanced than that. While everyone simplifies it to just a person developing some kind of obsessive or unrequited attachment towards someone or something, there are actually layers and depths to consider. A weeb seeing the boys on Trash Taste and listening to their podcast every day because they're just like me for real. A man inspired after his favorite influencer that once suffered the same problem that he had, overcome it. A man deciding to learn a language just because their favorite Vtubers knows how to speak it. Parasocialism isn't the Venta Black concept that many people paint it as. It can be healthy. In fact, I would argue most cases of parasocialism is actually healthy. We all have...
I would actually agree with that position because, like, what is talked about as parasocialism is really just a fraction of what it actually encompasses, because it has such a broad range of how it can interact with each individual person, and the different ways that the creators create their content and how that keeps people attached to it. All that fun stuff.
Have parasocial relationships in some shape or form. By its technical definition, being a fan of someone is a parasocial relationship, and most of the time, that actually helps us grow, like learning a language, mastering an instrument, becoming a good dancer, or even just a temporary escape from the harsh world so that we can come back refreshed and ready to face it again. Sometimes, we just need our role model and Oshis to give us encouraging words. Sometimes, we just need a temporary escape. But when people start depending on them and...
There is something to be said about needing to take a break from a lot of different troubles in your life, and it is important to come back to them. But there was one thing I was wanting to respond to about oh yes, learning the languages and stuff. That is another thing that is definite. I would consider that, or I would call that tangential learning, where you're inspired to start looking into something, start researching something, start learning a language, just because there's somebody you like that has a side interest in it. And that definitely inspires people to start doing a little more research, start doing a little more growth as a person, rounding themselves out, that kind of thing. The more people that they start developing a sort of parasocial attachment to, the more ways in which they branch out and round themselves out as people. That's why I don't tell people what content they should or should not watch. I tell people what content I like, what content I dislike, mostly which ones I disagree with, because I want to challenge my positions to make sure they're as good as possible. But that is my own personal bias that, honestly, I do kind of want to spread onto the people that listen in on me. I'm not something that I really hide from. It's just not really something I've brought up before now.
And reach the deep end, that's when the parasocialism problem actually becomes a problem. When requests for words of encouragement become pushy for words of validation. When instead of being inspired by your favorite content creators to fix your issues, one ignores it and retreats to them for comfort. When one escapes reality and leaves for good. Many people have talked about the dangers of parasocialism, especially that of a romantic nature. I'm not going to be one of them. though I did offer my opinion, and that's going to be crucial for my overall message in this video. Now, I'm here to answer another question that nobody seems to have answered yet. Is the parasocialism problem for VTubers worse? But how do you even measure that? What is a base form of parasocialism? By worse, I don't actually mean the level of intensity, because parasocial fans going absolutely batshit crazy over their favorite influencers is not exclusive to VTubers. In fact, I actually think in terms of degree,
True.
the VTuber industry isn't that problematic. At least, compared to K-pop and dream stans, they're way fucking worse.
Yeah, there are definitely worse communities out there.
But
And don't you worry too much about not being able to comment or chat. It's nowhere required at all to have to engage. I just appreciate that people are listening in, and I hope I can inspire thought with what I have to say and how I react to videos and stuff. And 3 minutes in, I'm liking this guy. They are covering their bases pretty nicely and explaining themselves pretty well. I'm liking it.
by worse, I mean how heavily the culture of VTubing not just revolves around it, but also needs it. Even more so than normal streaming communities. In fact, the industry banks on it, indirectly encourages it. However, this isn't exactly new. Tons of companies and industries like the K-pop industry, the American boy band culture, and the Japanese idol culture fosters and encourages parasocialism in all manners of depth, because it's the thing that draws in the money. It also doesn't help that the VTuber boom started in 2020, literally the time where many people were isolated, lonely, and in a bad spot in their life due to pandemic lockdowns. While the healthy part of parasocialism got these people to forget about their loneliness momentarily and eventually get back to their feet, the dangerous part is that now some people vicariously live off of these anime girls. But while parasocialism exists everywhere,
I would like to add in there that I'm not aiming to provide an escape with my content. I'm looking to provide entertainment that does address stuff and does have relatable topics, relatable concepts that we talk about. Commented on how it's framing in particular terms. What is... But then John jumps into that relationship as kind of ideology and practice, a worldview or trend. I'm a little confused by that. Curious how DP Sensei's... Yeah, I'm not 100% analyzing relations to an ism in the actual video many months ago. Was there a different DN video? I will likely want to look into that in the future.
in the media, streaming communities in general are more prone to developing it, since viewers and fans actually have a line of direct communication with that person. Viewers share their vulnerabilities with the streamer, they banter, they have inside jokes, and it makes it so that the viewer feels like they know the streamer for real, like they're close friends with them, when in reality they aren't. And eventually, they go to their streams every time just so they can talk to them, to see what they're up to. Eventually, they develop a parasocial bond. Whether that's on the healthy side or on the deep end ultimately depends on the individual viewer. However, parasocialism can actually also go the other way around. In fact, I'd argue parasocialism first starts on the streamer or VTuber's end. Relatability is...
That is an interesting perspective, that the parasocial relationships that the streamers develop is because of how they react. I actually kind of agree with that. There are quite a bit of VTubers that I've seen that definitely play in or play up the parasocial side of their interactions with chat. Started video defines parasocial relationships, right? Yes. They did. I'm not sure on pronouns. I'm gonna just keep trying to default to they, them. God damn it, did my chat disconnect on YouTube? My app is fucking with me. Restream. You know what? I'm sorry if anybody's chatting in YouTube. I just can't see your comments. Stream is being a bitch. Hopefully tomorrow it will be better.
Is a tricky thing to manage as a VTuber. In one hand, they absolutely need it so that people can connect with them and understand them better, which is part of a healthy parasocial relationship, of course, but afterwards, it's their responsibility to put up proper boundaries. Still, no matter what...
Yes, that is 100% true. It's extremely important of the streamer to set the boundaries that they will engage with their viewers. But then he starts using the term parasocialism. It's interesting. Channeling 4chaner quirkiness. Honestly, I used to be a 4chaner, I'm not gonna lie. So, like, I have been curious about the, if there was any intended connection between the word they're using, parasocialism, and socialism. But so far, they haven't been talking about socialism. They've been talking specifically about parasocial relationships. Socialism is a more familiar term, but frames parasocial relationships with the para suffix. Really? I always just thought of socialism as the worldview. But, I mean... yeah, I think they're just trying to come up with a little more interesting way to phrase or to talk about parasocial relationships without making the video title too clunky. I don't know. People coin new words all the time. I don't think there's anything to do with actual socialism and their title. Or their use of the term parasocialism.
What you do, even if you put up that boundary, there will always be fans that will fall to the deep end of parasocialism. Gachis exist for everyone, not just for VTubers. Putting up boundaries serve to lessen the impact of those gachis. But I can't entirely blame the gachis though, because it's actually the influencers that start seeing their chat as their friends first. Because the chat is always...
That is actually true. Even at my size, I have experienced this and it has caused troubles for me. So I've had to actively set a little more strict boundaries with people I've been engaging with. Though, I mean, most of the time I do not have to worry because, like, I'm able to keep friendly conversations going with basically anyone.
There, cheering for them and occasionally tossing them money. Who am I to deserve your time and money? I need to repay you would become their mentality. And this bond would deepen for better or worse, usually worse, when eventually the VTuber shares their vulnerabilities, past traumas, and too much of themselves to their audience. It's an indirect invite for other people to start pouring their hearts too, and thus starts a cycle where they essentially feed on each other.
Yeah, I can definitely see how that trend exists. I've seen similar things with streamer friends of mine that have kind of fallen into that a bit, but my thing would be a train of thought that I've forgotten, because all these words are going on. What was they talking about? They share their vulnerabilities, and yes, that was it. The reason that the smaller, at least in my experience, the smaller streamers that do, I guess it wouldn't apply specifically to smaller streamers, but my experience is directly with other smaller streamers, because that's a lot of who I do talk to off of stream and like in my DMs and stuff. But a lot of those people do share that vulnerability side of them, because getting into streaming for a lot of them was how they got in contact with other people outside of their own household. And for a lot of those people, their household wasn't exactly kind towards them. So when they did have a community, or at least even a few people that started saying, like, we care about you, we want to hear what's going on, we want to make things better for you, we want to help you how we can, they felt vulnerable and they opened up. And that is something to be aware of as you're developing yourself as a content creator. You definitely need to be aware of the impact you will have. So while I am of the opinion that streamers and content creators in general should open up about like things that they're struggling with, I do think it's a very, very careful line to toe that they have to make sure not to accidentally encourage people to and send extra donations if they don't really send too many, that kind of thing. I wouldn't want to see people putting themselves at risk to help a streamer. Sorry for not getting the point across. Yeah, that's what I thought. He's only being catchy. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. It would have been nice if there was a little tongue-in-cheek joke about socialism, but let's honestly be real. How many people do regularly talk about socialism in their day-to-day? It's not too many. Like, most people don't really mention the word itself, but they have heard of socialism. They just don't know about it, mostly. So far... frog in my throat. So far, do you feel DN Sensei has already established that parasocialism is a kind of worldview, or practice, or philosophy, or socioeconomic system, or is he describing as parasocial relations? In my opinion, this has been explicitly about hydrate. Yeah, I don't have those channel redeems. Haha. I just actually take care of myself. That's not true. I drink a lot of pop. But yes, I think this video is 100% about parasocial relationships rather than any kind of worldview, specific philosophy, or that kind of thing. I will say that I am relatively healthy. I can lift very heavy stuff. I do keep myself pretty active. I have 2 bad vices that I fall back on, and I am working at getting rid of those.
People trauma dumps during a random moment on a stream and sees their VTuber as a waifu therapist. And some people dedicate entire months of their life.
Oh, trauma dumping. I paused at the great time. Yeah, I'm actually big and strong. I just don't promote it because, you know, there's that right-wing narrative of trans women are just as strong as cis men. And I will be honest, I was way stronger 5 years ago. But, yes, trauma dumping, that is something that happens frequently. A little too frequently. There's something that should be... That's something that should definitely be addressed. I personally haven't gotten too much trauma dumping, if at all, in my streams. I do have a section of my Discord that has a place for venting that people have, so that there is somewhere that they can express those grievances, because, you know, a live chat is not really the place you want to air those grievances. People are here to be entertained, and while it is important to address your problems, time and place. Do be respectful that the streamer is putting on a live show, and you shouldn't really be derailing it. But understand that there are people that do care. Maybe in the future, more of us reclaiming muscles. Yeah, I would definitely think there would be more of us showing off muscles if there wasn't such a broad push that trans women are all hyper masculine people in dresses, and it's like, no, we have to present as hyper feminine just to be accepted, and it's like, we shouldn't have to. It literally shouldn't matter. Back to parasocial relationships.
Lives making videos worshipping a single VTuber. Okay, maybe two. It's especially worse for VTubers who are troubled because the chat starts developing some kind of savior complex. That's the reason why a lot of VTuber fans love unstable.
Oh my god. I have dealt with this one too. The savior complex, that I'll be the one to save them from their terrible situations, and while I want to do what I can to help, I can't do much more than be an ear online, be an advocate for positive change in the world. That's really all I can offer people. Or horny aren't. It's up to them.
Girls and menheras, because they're just like...
Many VTubers let their chats as avenues for peeps to share bits and to de-stress. Some have light conversation. Excuse me, too many bubbles. Like conversation streams where they open a marshmallow question and answer portion open to viewers. I would like to be doing that more AMA stuff. But I do need to work a little bit more on audience retention and building up that, the chatters available to ask those questions. I do have, like, telenym for anonymous questions, but I can only really do those segments once in a while once those questions have built up. But yes, I would like to see more of that kind of stuff. I would definitely like to see more of making that connection of not seeing copies cookies. I guess so. I guess cookies. But yeah, like those more of light conversation, question and answer stuff. I would definitely love to do more content like that. I'm just limited with what I got, and it's on the horizon, I would say, as I keep growing, because like I don't really go down subs except maybe one at a time once in a while. I'm usually just on my way up. But it is important to build that bridge of connection with the streamer and the viewers. I'm personally of the size of I recognize all the names in my chat, and I have a fair idea of who they are, though it is still very distant, it's mostly I think of that person because of their name. That's how I recognize them. I wouldn't recognize the person in the street for the most part. But it is definitely important to build, and to reiterate, it is also important to set the proper boundaries, which are obviously going to be different per streamer, because everybody is different with what they're comfortable with. It's just like me for real.
Like me for real, and to them, they're way cuter than a normal professional VTuber. As such, this is a part of the job for most VTubers. Even if one is literally the funniest VTuber ever, they often need to skirt the edges of parasocialism, even more so than regular streamers, to find the middle between the shallow and the deep end. They can't stay completely unparasocial with their audience for long because parasocial
I had the silly idea that VTubers are kind of like first responders to the current mental health crises. By offering space for advice and such, they're like mental health peeps, not experts, but giving advice. Question is this exploitative, or can it actually shine a light on how mental health is expensive and a system problematic? That is definitely thought-provoking, and something I have thought of like separately a while back as like rather than the question and answer portions, it would be like I bring somebody on to basically vent their frustrations, and I offer armchair unlicensed counseling because I would say I'm pretty decent at offering advice, but I do try to make it very clear that I am not trained in this. I just have a lot of lived experiences, and I have quite a bit of empathy and sympathy for other people.
Journalism is the lifeblood of this industry. It's what fans expect and want from VTubers. Most VTubers fortunately manage to find these sweet spots, and those that go over the edge end up in unpredictable places. As examples, Rusha got gutted and was humiliatingly exiled from Hololive, and Vox is seeking professional mental help after the whole Reimu drama.
Wait, what? I did not actually hear about that. Interesting. I didn't know that many Niji Sanji and other Japanese streamers or VTubers did segments like that. But yeah, it is something that had actually crossed my mind like a month or two ago as like a fleeting thought, hey, this would be kind of neat. And I'm going to be honest, over the last couple weeks, I've been seeing or finding or thinking that it might be a little more relevant to actually start doing stuff like that to hopefully provide some kind of insight, some kind of fresh perspective on trouble people are having. But obviously, again, I'm not any form of trained professional. I'll send links on Discord as reference. Oh, please do. I won't go over like every one of them on stream, but it would be something that I want to look into, maybe take inspiration from.
And maybe developing into a Menhera himself. Yes, they're still active and popular, but they've earned themselves quite controversial reputations. Yes, they're still making bank, and they still want to pursue the GFE and BFE experience.
Interesting.
But at what cost?
That's an interesting point, Angel. They're kind of like mental health first responders. They kind of get an idea of what the broader population is feeling, or struggling with what they're going through, that kind of thing. That would definitely be a very, very helpful resource to have, especially for the VTuber community.
Of course, I'm not saying that Rusha or Vox deserved the mental damage that was inflicted upon them due to parasocial fans and criticism, but what I am saying is that it's par for the course. Things like these were naturally going to happen. There's even a chance that it'll continue to worsen as they keep descending into the abyss. And again, everything that I've said so far aren't exclusive to VTubers. They happen to regular streamers too.
Oh yeah.
However, the reason why I think it's a tad more problematic for VTubers is because VTubers are easier to objectify. VTubers appear as anime characters. They play into a kayfabe or character archetype. And due to this, it's really easy to forget that they're still human. That they're just entertainers, that they're just doing their job.
Hey, I said that at the start of the video. A little snacky because I'm a little hungry. Okay, so yeah. That is definitely something that would be up my alley, Angel Tail.
There's already a growing global culture of men replacing real relationships with waifus, and pair this up with the...
It's not just men, let's be real. It's more men than women, or minorities, but it's more than just men.
Idol culture, which I'll talk about later, and you get a special kind of problem. But things get even more complicated when you remember that it's part of the magic of VTubers. Them role-playing is part of the appeal of the gimmick of VTubing. VTubers are basically interactive shows when you think about it. Them acting like caricatures, playing into tropes, being a neat because they're just like me for real, playing into the shipping culture, these are all parts of a VTuber's appeal. And that...
Yeah, I mean, I play into that too on Twitter. I can't deny that. It's kind of how you provoke engagement to, you know, get your tweets seen by more people. It's just something you gotta engage with.
The natures of these appeal makes parasocial relationships all the more easier to form. It's much harder for VTubers to manage their fans because they have to keep that magic alive while making sure most of their fanbase doesn't fall too deep into parasocialism. And if their fanbase have already fallen into the deep end, whether intentionally or accidentally, they start walking on eggshells. Most of the time, VTubers fail in managing that balance because parasocialism is already a key component of the VTuber culture, and sometimes it even dictates the success of a VTuber. Of course, while parasocialism is already a necessary component for a regular streamer or influencer, in the case of VTubers, parasocialism isn't just necessary, it's glorified. Enter the simping culture. Originally, the word
Fosh said something like VTubers are kind of like a drag performer. Oh. That's pretty funny.
simp was an insult to men who like female content creators a little too much, to a point where they'd spend a shit ton of money in
Whoa, careful, I'm on Twitch. Don't call anybody one of those directly.
hopes of getting some action in return. But during the VTuber boom, fans have not only adopted that word, they turned it into a badge of honor. The most loyal simps and the craziest, most active whales.
That's actually true. There are people that actually reclaimed simp to be something they're proud of. Like they're hardcore fans, but I mean, if somebody unironically said they were my simp, I would be a little sus. Like, at least think about me a little critically.
Are respected and glorified. Someone who cashes out literally tens of thousands of dollars to super chat their Oshis in a single month are labeled as mad lads, a god amongst men. Half of the fanbase look at this ironically, but the other half do so unironically. Somehow, the simping culture has distorted our perception of such herbivore behavior. Somehow, the simping culture has made this the norm of the industry. And while I agree that this culture is part of what makes the VTuber community unique, it doesn't make it any less weird when you actually look at it from the outside and look at it without rose-tinted glasses.
Oh, yeah, no, from the outside, it looks so fucking weird. We're anime girls talking back to the chat, talking to us. We come across really weird. Rainbow Super Chat. I think I missed that one. Yeah, this definitely seems like a cheeky section.
But again, this culture is what makes the industry special. For better or worse, it is also part of the magic of VTubing. In fact, this culture is why the VTuber boom happened in the first place, and why Hololive became the most popular global VTuber agency. Because the thing about industries is that the top dogs will always be the trendsetters. What they do is what most people follow in order to get a similar result. Hololive's idol niche
It's not just trends among VTubers, it's also among streamers that have a similar kind of content they go after. Like political streamers kind of follow the talking points of the bigger ones that they agree with. That's kind of how it goes. It also applies to music genres, it applies to video game development. I mean, look at Halo, it influenced everything past it, pretty much, in terms of shooters. It's a meme in Coco's chat? Oh.
became the meta for the industry when the VTuber boom happened, and as a result, idols and VTubers have become intertwined, permeating to every corner of the VTuber industry. Idols have something of a problem with parasocialism already, so it's only natural that it was going to make it worse.
That's understandable. From what I understand, the idol industry is pushing the parasocial relationship a lot.
The toxic side of the idol culture, which is the whole not talking to males thing among others, spread out across the VTuber industry. It's not that any agency, including Hololive, is forcing their VTubers to follow this toxic part of the culture and be parasocial, because it's mostly perpetuated both by the viewers and the individual VTuber. And
I would push back a little bit on this. Work is starting. Hey, you go focus on work. IRL takes precedent over my content. It will be here if you wish to return and finish the video. That is important. Fuck. What was I about to say? Replay it.
mostly perpetuated both by the viewers and the individual VTuber. And while this industry...
Right, the big ones are essentially the trendsetters. That is actually a problem that I kind of have. That in order to get the engagement of, you know, viewers, people interacting with your content, you kind of got to appeal to what they want. And how do you appeal to what VTuber fans want? You look at the biggest ones that get the most views and you start imitating that to figure out your own way of doing it. And unfortunately, parasocial relationships are inherently tied, or not inherently, but parasocial relationships have been directly tied to VTuber personas in the broader community.
She has been doing well to shed off toxic parts of the idol culture, like the whole not allowed to talk to males thing. Heavy parasocialism is still the lifeblood of the community, and it's where the VTuber industry is still going. One thing that I've observed too is that the parasocial aspect of VTubing is worse for the eastern side of the industry than the western side. The Japanese, the Chinese, or really Asians in general are more prone to fall into the deep end of parasocial relationships.
Wouldn't that have to do with how it's already pretty prominent? How parasocial relationships are already pretty prominent in the eastern side of the VTuber community? And yes, I will keep saying the VTuber community is a thing.
And as a result, they're the most loyal and profitable, but also the most volatile. There's a fine line between dangerous and healthy parasocialism. In fact, that's pretty much the point of this video. To find that line. To find that balance, both as a viewer or a streamer. Healthy parasocialism are healthy VTuber and fan relationships, when a VTuber knows that their chat are just their fans and not their friends. Appreciating them, but still keeping a distance. When viewers know that the VTubers are just doing their job, still buying into their kayfabe and having fun but maintaining a healthy separation. But dangerous parasocialism is dependency or codependency between VTuber and fan, when the lines blur both for the chat and streamer, and they feel the need to see each other to complete their day. When the viewers start seeing the VTuber as their waifu therapist, a romantic, or their friend. Healthy parasocialism is the reason.
Yeah, I also would like to point out that there have been streamers that I know that have kind of fallen into a bit of a unhealthy dependency on their parasocial relationships with their viewers, that not in like they're exploiting their viewers or anything, more so that they kind of depend on having that chat there to have somebody to talk to, because like I said before, it might be their only positive social engagement. So it's kind of understandable how people can fall into it. It is definitely something that I want to make people aware of, and so that they can do their best to avoid falling in the deep end, as you put it.
That the magic of VTubers exists, and it's one of the elements that make VTubing unique. Enjoying your Oshis as cute anime girls doing cute anime things is one of the most unique experiences of online entertainment. But dangerous parasocialism is the horror of the VTuber community, as it can ruin entire fan bases, VTubers, and further damages the reputation of the industry. The moment you buy into the illusion too much and forget that these VTubers are just normal human beings doing their job as entertainers, is the moment you start to slip on the edge. The moment you stop being a fan and start seeing yourself as their friend or lover, is the moment you need to take a step back. All of us are parasocial towards someone.
Yeah, like I am pretty uncomfortable with people telling me they love me, even if I have been chatting with them for a while and we've developed a friendly bond. I understand that there is platonic love, but I also understand that there is an aspect of parasocial engagement even between other streamers and myself that I need to be aware of, but I also need to remember that when I'm engaging with other streamers and talking with them in like, or other VTubers, I'm talking to another person, which is definitely easier for me to grasp that concept because, you know, I deal with it myself too.
Or something in various degrees. But when you start substituting parasocial relationships for actual real relationships, realize that you're falling on the deep end. The parasocial problem only becomes a problem when you let it become a problem. Hey everyone, thanks for watching this video. Leave a like and comment down below if I've missed something or if you have something to add, and if you'd like to engage.
I really like that. That was really insightful, and I think they phrased themselves really well.
In a
Honestly, I don't think I have really much to add to that. That was plenty to get me thinking about that kind of, or thinking about that issue. I do wish my YouTube chat was working. But, I mean, hey, what's a VTuber stream without a little scruff?